Hello, and welcome to another Institute edition of the Quantum Institute. Thank you for being with us today. Well, I'd really like to start off today's episode by talking about some cool space stuff that's been released recently. One of the most interesting things I ran across today was an article talking about how NASA, as well as some of the major, basically space telescope detection agencies, are developing a technique to use methane detection to look for life in other galaxies, or sorry, in other solar systems, other star systems within our own galaxy. Um, as many of you probably know, this is the whole basis for this is the fact that here on Earth, methane is a byproduct of biochemical reactions, like, for instance, farting. So the theory is that you go like look up into space, look at the planets, use spectroscopy, which is where you can like look at the light waves. Basically, using detection from the light waves, we can see what are the chemical elements that are in it. And theoretically, if there's methane, then that means that potentially there's life. Backing up a few steps, I mean, one of the things that you see is that we've developed at least, we've discovered something like 600 exoplanets. An exoplanet being a planet outside of our own solar system. Now, the techniques for this itself have really been improving over the years. It started out with like basically we could only detect really, really large, Jupiter, gigantic, ginormous planets circling around other stars, but as our techniques got more refined, we can discover all kinds of things, including Earth-sized planets, rocky planets, things like that. So they don't have to be huge for us to be able to see them anymore. Of course, the idea that we might detect life in another solar system is infinitely interesting, at least if that's the kind of thing you're into. Especially if you are a big fan of Independence Day or alien movies or anything like that and want to know where these guys might be hiding out. Um, of course, one of the major things is there's a few issues is that while methane here on Earth comes from biochemistry, it comes from like living creatures like us, algae, whatever. When you get out into the wild solar system, to the wilds of space, you don't know everything. So there could be it's potential that there's other processes, other kinds of crazy stuff that may cause methane to appear. But regardless, across light years and light years and light years, it seems to be the best that we've got so far. Now, of course, one of the crazy things is that like our capabilities to detect stuff like this has just gotten so much better. Spectroscopy has improved as well as not just how well we can see into the distance, but also our ability to analyze and figure out what's going on from the information that we do receive. So, essentially, we point a laser beam at something that's like light years away, and we can, to a certain extent, figure out what that planet or what that star is made of. So, ETs. ETs out in the galaxy. Hell yeah. This also comes correlated to some other major things that we're working on. One of which is sending out probes, sending out the, what was that thing called? I know that it had a name. Hang on a second. Well, anyway, we sent out a probe that's gone past Pluto, and we're with the aid of the Hubble telescope, which is kind of like bouncing other information off. It's kind of giving it a little boost in terms of its abilities. We're looking at things out by the Kuiper Belt. Now, I don't know if any of you know what the hell the Kuiper Belt is, but that's what it turned out Pluto was a part of when Pluto got demoted as a planet. So that whole controversy is hilarious and sad for losing Pluto as a planet as it was. Um, for those of you who may not know, what it turned out was that there, well, Pluto seemed to be a planet like, smaller than ours and Venus and Mars and all that stuff, and the Earth, of course. It there was a basically there's a German scientist named Kuiper who predicted that there was a ring of icy bodies surrounding the edge of our solar system. So basically, think of it kind of like a ring of asteroids, but a little bit different. The makeup's a little bit different, a lot of ice in them, but basically big chunks of ice and rock. Um, it turned out he was 100% correct, and that Pluto isn't actually a planet. It's a member of this friggin' ring of ice rocks that's surrounding the solar system, and that's why it got demoted as a planet, inspiring 10,000 memes and thousands of hours of terrible stand-up. So, but one of the interesting things is light doesn't really get that far out there. I mean, Pluto is kind of crazy because we can see using these certain techniques to see to other stars. Like I was just talking about spectroscopy. We look at another star, analyze what it's made of, and we can tell a hell of a lot of things from it. And yet, with our telescopes, it's really difficult to see Pluto and beyond. The reason being that just light doesn't go very far, and these icy, rocky space snow cones are not very good. They're not very bright. The little light that does get there, they don't really light up too much. It doesn't have a lot to, despite being made out of ice, it doesn't have a lot to reflect off of. So, but there's all kinds of crazy theories. There's legitimate scientists who think there may be another planet out there. There could be dozens of planets out there. It's kind of insane how much we don't know in our own backyard. Things like this also hold true, if I remember correctly, for areas like the asteroid belt. I mean, there's parts of our solar system we just can't see very well. Either there's too much stuff blocking it, or maybe we just can't get the angle of light that we're really looking for. But we're still finding things in our own backyard that are kind of crazy. Of course, I'm holding out for another planet. I think that'd be awesome and badass, and we would have our planet count back up to 9, which I always thought was a rock solid number. So as we look into the Kuiper Belt, hopefully find some crazy, big, awesome stuff out there, just because that would be sweet. It would be quite cool. Looking at some of the tech news from today, some of the higher tech news. A couple having to do with optics. So, one interesting that's come out is scientists in Britain have come up with smart glasses. Well, it's a work in progress, but basically it seems like they're having a whole lot of progress going with this. Where for people with failing eyesight or near blindness, they've created glasses that accentuate what you see, and basically act as crutches for your eyes, something along those lines. But according to this article I was reading in Science Daily today, the effects are astounding. One of the trial users was saying that she saw her guide dog for the first time. She didn't know what her guide dog looked like, and she got the chance to see him. So that's crazy. I mean, that's proof of how blind she was, that she actually needed a guide dog in the first place. And to go from that to being able to, have even halfway decent vision is incredibly revolutionary when it comes to what, I don't know, quality of life. I don't know about you, and but I would definitely rather have bad eyesight than have no eyesight. That just seems like such a humongous difference to me. And yeah, this comes on the tails of a couple of things that are sort of similar. There was a there's some research that came out a couple days ago from was it Harvard or Stanford, one of the some big research institution, that they had to develop a video game to train people to hear at low, basically to get really good at hearing. Um, Now, this is a different approach. It's not like throwing technology. It's actually throwing kind of like a learning video game at it. But all what it from what they released, I looked for this on their website. I was trying to find this because I wanted to play this myself, and I didn't have any luck. So I think this is probably still internal. Like they just released a paper about it, so they're not quite at the launch stage yet. But basically, with that, it was a video game where you practice listening to listening to like low, to soft sounds when there's a bunch of noise in the background. So it'd be equivalent of like the way they described it. It sounded something along the lines of like almost like you practice trying to hear a conversation in the middle of a restaurant, or like a noisy restaurant, or you just have a lot of noise in the background, like almost from like if you're on the train or a subway, or who knows, maybe like just some places a lot of traffic outside, and you pick out what people are saying, and they showed both in humans and I think mice or some kind of animal. I don't know how you test hearing in animals, but what they really found with these, but they found that it made a huge difference. That it could that people's hearing levels improved by a completely significant amount, a totally significant amount, which is pretty freaking awesome. This also gives me a lot of hope for the future as I, think about getting old and old age, and how one day my body's not going to work the way it does now. And to have a few of these things at least, you know, make that transition a little gentler. Be nice. Possibly won't have to just, worry about going completely deaf or completely blind with absolutely no repercussion, with nothing I can do about it. It's cool to think that maybe in 20, 30 years, it might not be such a big deal. When my eyesight really starts to fail, if I'm 80, 90, whatever the case may be, basically just change your prescription, get a new kind of glasses that help you see better in a way that we can't really do right now. And man, this is so cool. This is so goddamn cool. Another on the whole optics and seeing and crazy stuff going on in that sort of thing. Another really interesting thing they released was a camera that can see around walls. Now, there's actually been a couple. This shows up in sci-fi all the time. I think that might have been in one of the new Star Trek movies, but I'm not sure. But basically, this is something where you point a camera at a camera. It's got a specific type of special kind of light. Although, like looking at the photo, it looks like a red version of a camera flash. So it's a different spectrum, but the equipment looks pretty much just like a normal digital camera with a flash, like no big deal. And yet, what's pretty astounding is like you shoot this at a wall, like a wall at the end of a hallway or something like that. The light scatters when it hits it, bounces all around, but then the screen or the process they got picks up all the scattered light. I think it's the echoes and the reflections and stuff like that, and begins to actually build an image of what is around that corner. So it's not instantaneous. You don't take one photo and then you can see exactly what's around, but you actually point a camera for a little bit, and then the picture starts to come into focus. But like, I would check this out, Science Daily. But the accuracy looks pretty good. I mean, the images that they're that they're getting by just pointing this. And it's not like a specialized like paint on the wall. It's not like a mirror setup. It is, I think it's supposed to be just a painted white wall. Yeah. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. Yeah, and I think it's just everything about it's just like sensitive enough, and the reconstruction algorithms are just so goddamn powerful that they can, just with like the most minimal amount of information, just the light waves bouncing back, kind of like a bat, except instead of using sound echoes, it's using light echoes. They can totally make this thing happen. They can totally like see what's around that corner. So what are you going to use this for? Well, I can think of a lot of things that I could use this for. But I think for all of us, the one that really comes to mind is probably military. I mean, let's be honest. This is the type of thing that you would expect from Mission Impossible. But seeing around corners, man, there's so many different ways this could be used. Maybe, possibly even something involving traffic regulation, accident prevention, spying, as you said, and possibly just a million other ways. It's pretty crazy. Well, we are now going to take in an interview with scientist Harold T. White. So one of the nuclear physicists, he's one of the quantum physicists over at NASA that's working on that warp drive with the drawings they released a couple days ago. And man, we're pretty excited about this. So yeah, did a great interview. Super cool guy. Oh my God, this is an example of like, when you talk to someone who's just so much smarter than you, and all you can really do is just kind of sit back and try and absorb as much information as possible. Get a little bit of that osmosis. Get a little bit through osmosis. So here you go. Hope you enjoyed.